Let's do a stop practice. Stop whatever you are doing right now. Take a few breaths. Observe your experience in this moment. Then proceed mindfully into your next moments.
Na-experience mo na ba ang toxic positivity?
Welcome to the sacred space. For this episode, we will be talking about toxic positivity at anong itsura ng toxic positivity.
And after the break, we will have a guest who will share about his experiences with toxic positivity.
So first, let's define toxic positivity. You know, I've read in one of the articles wherein they define toxic positivity, which is a toxic culture that we have right now that pushes you to push away yung negativity. Na parang i-set aside mo muna yan and just, emanate the positive. Yeah. But
Yeah.
what does that really mean?
Yeah, so just again, reminding everyone, this is our toxic culture segment. And we talk about the different kinds of culture or ways, customs, traditions that we continue to see that are actually already not healthy or helpful for us individually. So, yung toxic positivity you were mentioning kanina, yung there's no space to allow or to validate our emotions, our dark emotions, our heavy emotions, in order for other people to actually feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Yung parang meron kang pinagdadaan, hindi, okay lang, huwag ka na tumambay dyan. Di ba? Meron ka dapat yung mga ganyang experiences, hindi yan tinatama, yan dinadaanan lang yan. Di ba? Ganun yung mga...
Or yung tipong, alam mo, sad ako eh. Hindi, okay lang yan. Just be positive about things. Kasi magiging okay din naman.
Oo. Or, halika, kumain tayo ng ganito, ganyan, etc. Yung talagang, it's so easy for us to help people by trying to invalidate whatever it is that they're feeling. Lalo na kung it makes us uncomfortable.
Pero saan ba galing yun? Is it because ayaw mong ma-involve kung ano man yung negative space na nandun siya? Or talagang ayaw mo lang na may marinig? Yun ba yun? Ng mga tao na may negativity yung particular person or particular situation?
I think when we really get down to it, it will be different again for each and every context. Depende kung nasan yung mga tao. But based on experience, I'd like to say na some would be coming from not wanting to face reality.
Mm-hmm.
The second one would be not yung feeling na hindi ko kaya talagang tumulong.
Not strong enough.
Or I don't have the means to help you, so I'll do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Parang ganon.
But
Or,
parang unconscious ka na in-invalidate mo pala yung feelings ng isang taong nag-share ng sadness or that kind of emotion na dinideem natin as negative.
yes, exactly. And I would dare say that people who respond that way probably don't even ask themselves or allow themselves that space.
Mm-hmm.
Parang hindi mo nare-recognize sa sarili mo, so therefore it's hard to help another person recognize it.
Mm-hmm. There's also this article na it says, when too much positivity is ruining our lives. We're not saying naman na wag maging positive. What we're saying is, what happens when there's too much positivity that it becomes fake. Diba?
Yes. So definitely we are for positive psychology, for example. But positive psychology isn't just about staying positive.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And getting there means recognizing and acknowledging everything.
Right. It's a journey actually. Hindi kanina nga when we were just discussing about toxic positivity. So a thought comes to my mind na unconsciously I am doing it also. No, it's yun nga, and all of this toxic culture, as we have mentioned in our previous episode, for us to be able to avoid it or address it, one must become aware.
I think it's important talaga, aside from we were mentioning awareness, we really have to start getting to know ourselves. Maybe even, at least for me, what I've done is I've really started to get to know my deep, dark, heavy spaces. Meaning, ano yung itsura pag galit ako, bakit ako nagagalit? Bakit ako nalulungkot? Sobrang lungkot. Ano yung sabihin ng grief? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng doubt, ng confusion, in all of these things. And meron nga kaming practice actually sa emergent theater at saka sa mindfulness. There's this, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? You know, ano yung tsura niya? And then being able to not just acknowledge it, but kind of befriend it. Meaning, okay, I'm allowing you to be here. I'm validating this emotion. I'm okay to stay with this emotion. I'm not just being emotional. I'm not going to push it away, run away from it, and all that. No? And being able to just sit with it and noticing ano yung nangyayari. And this is something that we talked about sa mental health, no, na parang this is one way to cope.
Right.
One way to be well is to acknowledge that you're not well at the moment.
Yeah, that reminds me of the book that I just read, yung The Subtle Art of Not Giving wherein dun sa libro, sinasabi niya na maybe the way to become more positive is to embrace the negative. And sometimes negativity is also equivalent to positivity. And my point siya doon, unless you accept that there's a fact of your life that is sad, that is ugly, that is depressing, you cannot step out of that. You're just bottling it up until later on mag-explode ka na.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that we are avoiding, and that is why, you know, in what you're doing in theater, in emergent theater, and in conscious heart also, it's all about processing your thoughts, your emotions, for you to be able to get where you want to be. And in this case, becoming positive is not just a thought na nag-spark, or it's not just an immediate reaction, but it's a journey actually.
Yes, and we also have to acknowledge that being positive is not an every moment experience. That we can experience the negative, be with the positive, be with all sorts of gray areas, magkahalong mix na positive, negative, and everything, you know.
Yes.
Everything is just what it is. And we are able to be with uncertainty, be with the moment and all that. And when we can do that, we can actually lessen yung toxicity and even maybe let go of that toxic thing na hindi na tayo kinakain, ini-eat up ng what's happening inside of us that negates who we really are. And we can just be ourselves, whatever the charge ba yan, positive, negative charge, kung ano man yun, right?
Yeah. So, I guess yung takeaway for this first segment is do not shy away or fear away the negative. Instead, you embrace it so that it's also your path towards becoming more positive. And when you reach that path, it's more genuine, no, than what you call toxic positivity, which is fake positivity. So we always strive to be genuine at every moment. And, you know, all of these huddles, yung mga lubak sa life, is just one of the ways or one of the parang tools that can get us to the right path, which is the genuine path, and towards positivity.
Yeah. And I'd like to also say perhaps that the path is not really the
end goal,
or not the road na walang baku-bako, you know. The path itself is exactly all of these things.
Yeah. Very much bako-bako.
Who knows? It can be bako-bako, it can be straight, it can be anything.
So see you after this break.
To get updated in our latest episodes, you may follow The Sacred Space by Conscious Heart Creations in Spotify, Google Podcast, and other podcast channels.
Follow Conscious Heart Creations in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We also invite you to be part of our Healing and Empowerment Community Facebook group and send us an email if you want to join our Emergent Theater PH activities.
You can find all the links to our social media accounts and email address on the description box.
Welcome back to the second segment of Toxic Positivity.
Yes.
And today, we are joined by our special guest, Vaughn.
Hey, hi guys. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be part of this podcast. I'm Vaughn, and I'm an active member of the Fogwangshan Buhay Temple. I'm a volunteer there. I'm also an artist. I do a lot of graphic design. I do photography. I do editing. I work in a bank, in a financial bank. I've been doing all of their branding. I redesign PowerPoint presentations, visual, anything that they need visually. I assist them and help them.
Most importantly, you've been in quarantine until
Yes.
Yes, and welcome to the non-quarantine world.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So, going to our topic, we'd like to know a little bit about your experience of this particular toxic culture, yung toxic positivity. Can you share a little bit about what you have experienced in the past when it comes to people kind of giving you that, maging positive ka lang? What does that mean for you?
Well, it's really a good topic, and yeah, I've tried to. I've seen it in Twitter, and people are really talking about it. That they're encouraging other people to stay positive, and I believe, I personally believe, there's nothing wrong with staying positive, naman talaga, and encouraging other people to stay positive. Ako personally, I feel like it's hard to give an advice on something that I don't understand or I don't really feel, and it's hard to keep telling other people to stay positive when in fact you're not there. You don't feel comfortable. You don't understand how hard it is for them. So that's how I see toxic positivity.
Right. And how did that make you feel when people around you or even you yourself is telling parang you have this monologue to just stay positive? How does it affect you?
I've been staying positive for such a long time, like ever since, diba? Right? I keep on, pushing myself. But the more I keep telling myself to stay positive, the more depressing I become.
Why is that? Why do you think?
Because I'm not being. Because I feel like I'm just sugarcoating the bruises or the pains of the past, and I feel like I'm just trying to calm myself in such a way that I'm fantasizing or I'm just trying to put an illusion that as if nothing happened.
Okay.
Right? So it's more like a pretentious side, but then in real, it's not.
Yeah. So this is exactly what we were talking about in toxic positivity, no? Na parang we are so focused on the idea of being positive that we forget that life is not all roses.
Yeah.
Right.
And that life is all of these other things that are, dark and heavy,
Sometimes ugly.
sometimes ugly, and it's all okay.
Right.
Right? And that makes things real. That makes us who we are. And it's not just, the positive, the role model, the curated version of ourselves. It's all of these things make us who we are.
Yeah, so I do agree on you about all the things that you're telling me, because I as a person, you go through a lot of, anybody I feel naman is going through a lot of pains, daily struggles.
Yeah.
But then we don't want it to be judged.
Yeah.
I think that's also one thing that I wanted to highlight. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to be identified as that.
Okay.
We don't want to be we don't want people to assume that we're this, we're bad, we're a monster.
Yes.
We're on the dark side.
Yeah, precisely because the society is telling us that, you have to always keep your head above water, just stay positive because you might affect other people. And sometimes that's what we're trying to avoid, to
Right.
become the negative in the group.
Yeah. And this is exactly why we're talking about toxic culture. Bakit may ganitong segment? And we initially said the reason why we have so much toxic culture is because of that, even that judgment drives a lot of
Yes.
toxicity. Parang because you want to get rid of the judgment, instead of addressing that judgment, you kind of go into other dysfunctional approaches or strategies.
Yeah.
So instead of saying that I'm going to start being non-judgmental, ang sasabihin natin ay I'm going to be positive so they don't judge this
Right.
side of me, or I don't judge this side of me. Tatago ko lang siya sa
Right,
closet
exactly.
or sa skeleton or sa, alam mo yun, parang I'm just gonna forget all about it.
Right. And that's even even more dangerous kasi when you bottle it up, parang at some point, puputok ka eh.
Exactly.
Diba?
I have a question. How is it important for a person to understand the word acceptance? Kasi, di ba, I mean, is it, well, we all know that we don't want to be judged as a monster. Is it important that we accept it, that we have failures, that we have the dark side, but then how do we deal with the dark side so that we become better?
Yeah, in mindfulness, at least in what we do, it's very important what we call befriending the darkness, befriending the negative, befriending not so much as I'm gonna be that, which I was judged of, di ba? Parang just looking at it and seeing it instead of running away from it or pushing it away or burying it. Parang, okay, they say ganito ako. First, you just have to look first. Kailangan mo maging aware, ganun ka nga ba? No, you have to also, we just had a conversation earlier or some episodes ago na parang the conversation went into sino ka versus sino ka according to the society.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to stand our ground and really look into ourselves enough to know, ito pala. Pero magagawa lang natin yun kung magsisimula tayong tingnan yung totoo.
Exactly.
And exactly what you're saying, how can I be real if people keep telling me or people is pressuring, the society is pressuring me not to be myself?
Right. I think in addition to that, what you are also saying next is sometimes meeting your own personal saboteur in order to get to know that person, whoever that is, better and try to understand. There's this show that I always watch. I'm not sure if you're familiar also, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's kind of popular because there's a segment wherein they have to dress up as their own saboteur. So it's actually it's a good show kasi parang it's all glitz and glamour, but that particular episode parang it kind of kinuha sila ni RuPaul para i-check kung sino yung inner saboteur mo kasi baka yan yung nagbo-block, yun yung naging hinder sa'yo to become the person who na destined ka to become. Parang ganun. So I think yon going into that space helps you understand your darkness even better. And that is your path to your real, genuine positivity and not the fake positivity na ibaba. Sasantabi ko muna yung emotion na to, negative to eh.
Yes. At saka I think yung isang importante dun sa befriending, sa acceptance, and even with toxic positivity, the moment you keep harping on stay positive, be positive, for me, it becomes put on.
Yes.
Kasi you don't even have to say it if you're positive.
Exactly.
And in fact, people will ask you, anong meron? What are you doing? Can I do the same? Give me some advice. Why are you so positive? Diba?
It should just emanate naturally, but not just say, I'm positive. Or even to yourself, you are your inner saboteur daw. Diba yung parang sinasabi mo, ako, stay positive, Krizel, stay positive. Kasi hindi to okay. But, it's okay not to be okay.
Exactly. Well, I believe on all the things, right? It just made me realize that I myself I realized that I am also a toxic positive person before. That right? I mean, we keep saying that, hey, I'm positive, stay positive. But in real, am I really positive?
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's so hard to give an advice to other people when in fact you're not positive at all. I mean, how can you pass on that positivity if you yourself you're not okay inside? So I think that's very important to embrace your dark side and get to know your real self. And once you understand your real character, that's the only way that you can spread a good energy to others.
That brings us to like how we can wrap up this episode. Now that you have that realization, it's also parang common theme ng episodes natin when dealing with such toxic culture is awareness.
Yes.
No, it's very important that you are aware first of yourself, and maybe we can share pa kung ano yung how else can we respond to that kind of toxic culture.
Right. Yeah. My realization now is to understand. Just listen. It's very important that we listen all the time. Especially me, that I went through the same thing. That I keep hearing all the advices, which is really good to hear it. But when you're overwhelmed with so much positivity, that they're trying to cover your bad side, or they're not letting you understand
Your real emotion.
your real emotion, then that's the time that it becomes toxic. So I think it's very important that if we give advice, or I myself, if I need to talk to somebody, I would want the person I'm talking to will just listen to me and let me feel the pain if I need to feel the pain, and let me cry if I need to cry, or let me feel all the emotions that I need to feel. And then after that, so that's the only time, once I've released all those emotions, that's the only time that I can understand myself better. That I'm this, I have to accept it, I have to embrace that this is me, this is what happened, this is what went on.
Or even that's how you feel at the moment.
Right, yeah.
So, there's so many things you're actually sharing na parang meron pa ang isang segment na ipapropose next time. Pero the importance of what we call mindful listening. No? So, here we are, we're having some negative experience, and you go to someone and agad-agad gusto niya mag-advise, gusto niya ito yung gagawin mo, etc. When in fact, when we go to someone, it's not because we need a solution or an advice. Sometimes we just need to vent, to share, to know that another person is there with us. No? And sometimes we don't even have to say anything, right?
Yeah.
We're just there to listen.
Soundboard.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry. There's so many things going into my head lang. Siguro late realization. Well, I also realized I'm a typical comedian. I try to, laugh at all the mistakes that I've done. Or, or feeling ko naman mga natural comedians, may ganong character.
Yes.
So, yeah, I just realized na it's not just me, but I see that most people who try to, make patawa or bully or dadaanin mo sa kalokohan or yung mga kaibigan mo. But then in reality, you're sad.
Yes.
You just try to make them all feel happy. Ayoko kasi na malungkot. Ayoko ng ganyan. So, magjo-joke na lang ako. But then you're not really facing the real.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it, no? That's another toxic positivity. It's not just someone saying be positive.
Yes.
It's actually another way. I think napaka-Pilipino yun.
Yes.
Magpapatawa, gagawing light, huwag magseryoso. Okay
Yes.
lang naman paminsan yung seryoso,
Yes.
diba? Okay paminsan yung masaya. Pero hindi maganda yung seryoso, pero ipapalighten mo na wala na yung
Dahil ayaw nyo iharapin yung negativity of things.
Yes.
Diba? Right. That's very typical.
Yes.
Another thing I think na takeaway ko from what we are talking about just now is how we like to give advice and ask for advice when in fact it's not really that useful. I think from my experience, what's more important is perspective.
Right.
Meaning, I'm sharing with you my experience, not so you copy my experience, but for you to look at it, okay, that's another perspective. How does that apply to you?
Yeah.
And then, here another perspective, how does that apply to you? Pero in the end, tayo pa rin yung titingin, tayo pa rin yung magsasabi, this works for me.
Perfect. And this is why we have the sacred space to talk about things like this and offer perspectives from us and from the host the guests that we invite.
Yes, alright.
On that note, thank you very much, Vaughn, for gracing us with your presence today and giving your insights about this topic. And we hope to see you again on our next episodes of Toxic Culture.
Yes, we'll definitely get back to you on some other topics. Kasi marami pa tayong pagkukwentuhan.
Right. This has been your host, Krizel.
And I'm Nex. Bye!
Bye, guys.